If everything was that weak in security these days, we would be living in a very different world. Accurate so far.
Yeah, it's on. I'm not going to do the farm animals, but I like the idea of comparing two people together. It gives the whole thing a very Turing feel, since people's ratings of the pictures will be more important.
So right now, he's literally just angrily blogging on his own website in pure HTML, like the good old days. It's not what you would do today, but very interesting.
They keep everything open and allow indexes in their Apache configuration, so a little wget magic is all that's necessary to download the entire Kirkland Facebook. Kid stuff.
Easy. That's actually pretty accurate. Just command line to get images that are publicly subbed on a public URL. Very great. If everything was that weak in security these days, we would be living in a very different world. Accurate so far.
Next is Eliot. They're also open, but with no indexes on Apache. I can run an empty search and it returns all the images in the database in a single page.
That's pretty accurate. You should have better filtering on your search indexes, but you know, it's when like indexes you make in a database to search from, and sometimes if you don't properly filter an input on the front end, so like the website they're using on the university, they don't properly filter that input and it just runs the query as nothing. Sometimes that, depending on the database, it can just return all the results, which makes scraping your website or data pretty easy. And there's a lot of modern protections against this now. It doesn't really happen as frequently, but like, you know, I think this was when this was set, like 2010, something like that, right? I'm sure a lot of this stuff was not even thought about or protected. So definitely much easier of a time if you were doing it then as opposed to now. Most systems implement something called pagination, so you'd probably have to just make and scrape from repeated requests, requesting a new page, normally with offsets and limits. But I highly doubt that would even happen today. I mean, the actual example of this may be Facebook, but you know, scraping Facebook, you're sending requests to it in an automated fashion. You can kind of detect if those requests are automated and see if they look suspicious. And so scraping is always like a cat and mouse game where like one time you might get blocked, you have to do it again, and you know. But back then, it was just a free-for-all.
Adams has no security but limits the number of results to 20 a page. All I need to do is break out the same script I used on Lowell and we're set.
Yep, so that was another example where basically they limited the results to 20 per page, so he just has to make the old script work with the new website by just duplicating the request to the website like however many times until he has all of the university students' pictures.
It's slightly obnoxious that they only let you view one picture at a time, and there's no way I'm going to go to 500 pages to download pics one at a time, so it's definitely necessary to break out Emacs and modify that Perl script.
Yeah, I guess if you want to use Emacs, you can. Emacs is basically like a command line based text editor. So you might use something today like VS Code or an IDE or something like that. But some people still like to use Emacs today or Vim. I know I love using Vim, and that's a very controversial opinion. So yeah, I don't think many people write scripts in Perl anymore. But again, seems accurate so far. So
give each girl a base rating of 1400. At any given time, girl A has a rating RA and girl B has a rating RB.
When any two girls are matched up, there's an expectation of which will win based on their current rating, right?
Yeah. And those expectations are expressed this way.
Let's write it.
So yeah, most ranking and rating systems, anything that you kind of match with someone else, you can think about games, Overwatch, they all kind of use some number or ranking-based algorithm to award points and deduct points, and then they match people based on that. So this is an algorithm showing that, or well, the math for the algorithm. I can't tell you right now if that's accurate, but the theory behind what they're trying to say is accurate at least. If you love maths and you want to write an algorithm in math first and do that, that's also possible, but it depends like how proficient you are in programming. So for someone who likes programming or knows a lot about programming, it might just be easier to write it in code. For example, I assume the person who had this algorithm was thinking about it on a mathematical level, and then Mark Zuckerberg, or whoever plays Mark Zuckerberg in this movie, is the programmer and goes and implements the raw math for the rating algorithm, I should say.
Well, there's a very unusual line of traffic to the switch at Kirkland.
You're saying it's unusual for 4 in the morning?
No, this would be unusual for halftime at the Super Bowl.
You don't think?
do?
Basically, what's happening is his website got so much traffic and they're hosting it on, they don't make this clear, but probably computers within the university. And so many people are visiting this website and probably transferring images that are very large in file size that it's causing too much traffic. They woke up the head of IT maybe at Harvard and they have to restart the whole network. So they're all like, wow, it basically crashed them.